It's the Real Jonathan Smith Show on Indie Sports Ticket, 1430 AM, 93.9 HD2, and always on the free Indie Sports Ticket app.
What's going on? Welcome into the Real Jonathan Smith Show here on Indie Sports Ticket. Hopefully you've had a nice week. It is Friday. Oh, man, what a day. What a week. What a weekend we have coming up. We got the Masters wrapping up the rest of the NBA season. Just so many things. Thanks for tuning in. No matter how you're tuning in, whether that's YouTube, Indie Sports Ticket. If you want to head over there, subscribe, watch the show over there. You can hop in the live stream. You can chat. You can do all those things. Maybe you're listening via that Indie Sports Ticket app, which you can download wherever you get your apps to listen to not only mine show, but also the Dan Dockett Show. You can also watch the show on Twitter, _ Jonathan Smith, if you want to follow me there. And if you want even more from me, you can check out my other YouTube channel, My Take Is. Now, oh, man. We're going to start with the Indianapolis Colts. As of yesterday, the Indianapolis Colts released Matt Gay. Oh, no, we released a kicker. And the Colts do save some money with this move. I have some concerns about this move, though. Spencer Schrader, and unless you're a Notre Dame fan, you probably don't know who that is now the only kicker on the Colts roster. He was a rookie last year, and he kicked for 3 different teams. Kicked for the Jets, kicked for the Chiefs, and he kicked for the Colts. The good news when it comes to the future of the kicking for the Colts this next season, the good news is this Spencer Schrader kid didn't miss a kick last year. It's good. We like that. Bad news, he only attempted 5 field goals. It was 5 for 5, didn't attempt one over 50. The longest field goal that he made was 45 yards. He didn't make all 9 of his point-after attempts. So he had a decent year last year in very limited opportunities. But he's unproven. And it seems like he's going to be the kicker for the Colts this next season. And obviously, I hope it works out. I hope that he is the next Justin Tucker. I hope he just shows up and he never misses a kick. And whenever he walks out onto the field, we're all like, all right, sounds good. He's probably going to make this. Let me run to the bathroom real quick. That is the ultimate compliment for a kicker. When you see them run out onto the field and you feel like you can go use the restroom and not watch them attempt that kick. Because if you're not a good kicker, then I have to sit and watch you possibly miss. And when it comes to this Spencer Schrader kid, I don't know, I don't trust him enough to use the restroom whenever he's kicking the football. When it came to Matt Gay, I was comfortable enough to go use the restroom while he was kicking the football. And I understand that Matt Gay was, the 4th highest paid kicker in the NFL last year. And I understand that he struggled a little bit past 50 yards. And I understand that despite being the 4th highest paid kicker in the NFL last year, he didn't live up to that money. But the guy was pretty consistent. If the kick was, 49 yards or less, you're good. You know that he's making that. He didn't miss a kick inside of 50 yards last season. And I get it. He was overpaid. And I understand how this move is going to save the Colts some money. But if this backfires and Spencer Schrader or any other free agent kicker that the Colts decide to bring in, if they show up and they aren't good, you know what we're going to be doing? Pounding the table, trying to figure out why we cut Matt Gay. Seriously, like kickers go unnoticed until they suck. And I don't remember having any long, profound conversations about Matt Gay's season last year. He didn't miss a PAT. He was 28 for 28 inside of 50 yards. And he was 3 of 9 from beyond 50 yards. He made 84% of his kicks last year. It's pretty good. It's pretty good. I can 1,000% live with that. Especially, look, man, those kicks over 50 yards are so incredibly tough. The only kicker that runs out there, or I guess there's two. The only two kickers that I expect to consistently make field goals over 50 yards are Justin Tucker and the Aubrey kid for the Cowboys. That's really it. And I get it, 3 of 9 from beyond 50 yards isn't exactly what you want in an NFL kicker. But if things go sideways, we're going to miss that 3 for 9 from 50 plus really badly, really quickly. That's the simple reality of it. Now, something that I'm very much looking forward to are the NBA playoffs. If you've listened to me at all, then you know how much I really love the NBA. The regular season comes to an end on Sunday, and then we get like real legitimate, awesome basketball, the highest level of basketball in the world once the NBA playoffs start. And I'm super excited. We're going to have Jared Dubin back on the show. He's coming on today at 11:20. We'll talk about the playoffs. We'll talk about the Pacers. He's a Knicks fan. He's pretty not underwhelmed by the Knicks, but you know his stance is they aren't good enough to win the whole thing. Zack Gray, he's going to come on at 11:40 with bets. So very excited about all of that. But last night, the Pacers had an opportunity to clinch home court advantage in the first round. Okay, to be the team for, or to be the team with home court advantage in the first round against either the Bucks or the Pistons. And if you saw the line before last night's game, it's like, all right, the Pacers should win this game comfortably. But if you've watched the Cleveland Cavaliers play at all this year, then you know how good and how deep the Cleveland Cavaliers are. Okay, like they are just as deep, arguably deeper, than the Indiana Pacers, who go 10 guys deep. The Cavaliers just have dudes on dudes on dudes. I mean, Ty Jerome is their backup point guard. That guy would start at a lot of different places in the NBA. DeAndre Hunter, same thing. That guy's a backup. That's kind of insane. Dean Wade and Sam Merrill. If you watched the game last night, you know Sam Merrill very well. Those guys are awesome. Those are bench dudes. Four of the Cavaliers' best players didn't play last night. No Darius Garland, no Donovan Mitchell, no Evan Mobley, no Max Strus. Those four guys, very important to the success of the Cleveland Cavaliers. So they're good. If you've watched them play, you knew last night, despite those four guys sitting out, you knew that it wasn't going to be a cakewalk for the Pacers because the Cavaliers are deep and they can shoot the crap out of the ball. And they shot the crap out of it last night. The Pacers picked an awful night to shoot the ball poorly from three. Sam Merrill lit the Pacers up. He was 5 of 8 from three. He had a little stretch there where he hit like 3 in a row. And I'm sitting at home and I'm watching. I'm like, we can't just like follow this guy. Like, we can't just hold on to his jersey and make sure he doesn't get away. But he kept getting away and he kept making threes and he really kept the Cavaliers in the game late. The Pacers, on the other hand, couldn't buy a three. They shot 34% from three. Didn't really get it going until the fourth quarter when Tyrese Halliburton really got it going. He was awesome. More on him here in a minute. But the Cavaliers ended up shooting 46% from three. And yet the Pacers still found a way to win despite shooting 34% from three. Now, it's kind of a baffling win for the Pacers. Because usually when you make less threes, shoot a worse percentage from three, take less shots, and get out rebounded, usually you lose. And that's exactly what happened last night. The Cavaliers shot a better percentage from three. They made more threes. They took more shots. They out-rebounded the Pacers. Like, all of these very important stats that we look at to figure out who wins and who loses basketball games. Like, the Cavaliers won, like, every single one of them. And yet, the Pacers still found a way to win last night. Okay? And it's just kind of baffling. It is. With the Pacers last night, though, they found a way to kind of level the playing field through making free throws. See, that's the thing. Like, yes, like you need to be able to make threes in both the NBA and college basketball if you want to win games. But if you can't, the great equalizer is getting to the free throw line. And the Pacers did a decent job of getting to the free throw line last night to try to balance out some of those threes that the Cavaliers were making that the Pacers were not. Turnovers, the Pacers won the turnover battle by 2. It wasn't like they won it by a ton, but still, we'll take it. And block shots. The Pacers blocked, I believe the number is 11 shots last night. 11 blocks. That's kind of crazy. That is a lot of block shots. And this leads me to Miles Turner, who, when you look at the counting stats, didn't have a great game last night. 13 points, only had 7 rebounds, 4 of 9 from the field, 1 of 4 from 3. He was +9 on the night. Let me also throw that in there. But like when you watch him offensively, it's like, yeah, this is not a great Miles Turner game, but he has this ability. Remember, this guy's been the block king before in the NBA. And every now and then, this is year 10. He'll have nights like he did last night where he blocks 4 shots. And those 4 blocks were huge for the Pacers because you have to have rim protection if you want to win games in the NBA, unless you are the Denver Nuggets who are just going to, outscore you when Jokic is on the floor. And he showed last night, Miles Turner, another reason like why he is so important to this Pacers team. And, if they want to make a run deep into the Eastern Conference, if they want to make it back to the Eastern Conference Finals, like Dave Pasch suggested yesterday on Dan's show, Miles Turner is going to have to be this awesome rim protector, which he has been before throughout the course of his career. That, to me, his ability to block shots and protect the rim, like that is more important than his ability to rebound or make threes or do anything else. He has to protect the rim, and we saw him do it last night in a game that the Pacers, I'm not going to say that they needed to win because they would have had 2 more chances, but really wanted to win to clinch that 4th seed. He was awesome last night, and as much crap as Miles Turner gets for not rebounding the basketball, because he's not a great rebounder. Like, he's never going to have a night where he grabs 20 rebounds. That's just not who he is. He's going to grab somewhere between 7 and 10 rebounds. But last night, big possession, right? The Pacers are up by 1, and they run beautiful offense. Tyrese Halliburton, who'd been cooking in the 4th quarter, gets this wide open 3-point shot. He shoots it. It looks so good coming out of his hand. You're like, yeah, ball game. Pacers are about to be up by 4. Ball goes in and out. Miles Turner comes from out of nowhere. Like, he's like up almost, he's in the corner, essentially, probably a step or 2 in, and he crashes down so hard. And he grabs this offensive rebound, tears it away from one of the Cleveland Cavalier players, kicks it out to Halliburton, who then finds Aaron Nesmith, who just doesn't miss free throws late in games until last night. And he gets it to him. He gets fouled. There's like 14 seconds left. And it's like that offensive rebound was so big and so important. Like, if you watch the game, then you can very clearly see the impact that Miles Turner had. And hopefully he continues to have that level of an impact throughout the playoffs this season. Another guy who just keeps playing well. Jarris Walker was awesome last night. He was once again the Pacers' leading scorer off the bench. He scored 15 points in 15 minutes. He was good once again. Grabbed 3 rebounds. Wish that he would have had more. Should have had a couple of assists, but his teammates just didn't finish some plays, and he is now strung together a really good stretch. I mean, 7 of his last 8 games, he's been really good. And the one game that he wasn't really good in, he only played 5 minutes. You go back to March 27th, a couple weeks ago, against the Wizards. He goes for 16 points, 5 rebounds, and 5 assists in 25 minutes. It's a pretty solid game. And then at Oklahoma City, best team in the league, he goes for 10 points, 4 assists, and 4 rebounds in 27 minutes. And then August 31st, in a win over the Kings, he is once again really good. Goes 3 of 7 from 3, scores 15 points, has a couple of big steals late in that game, and helps once again contributes to another Pacers win. And then you just keep seeing him figure things out, right? And more importantly, you're seeing him impact the game in more ways than just scoring. Like against Charlotte, he only scored 10 points. He did hit 3 threes, but he grabbed 6 rebounds. Against Utah, he only scored 5 points. Only took, two shots in that game. And, excuse me, he took 3 shots in that game, but he stayed on the floor and he was impactful in those 14 minutes because he grabbed 7 rebounds. Against Denver, he was awesome in that game. I remember it. 11 points, 6 rebounds. Like he's able to come in off the bench and do more than just score. He's coming in and he's rebounding and he's starting to kind of figure out how to play defense. And last night, in a game where the Pacers were really struggling to score, he would come in, Jarris Walker. He was 6 of 7 from the floor, 3 of 4 from 3. Finished with 15 points. The turnovers were kind of annoying, but that's something he's really been avoiding. Like early in the year, he would have these really dumb, boneheaded turnovers. And he's kind of cut those out here as of late. And so, he's gotten better, which is really big for the Pacers because they need another little boost. Ridger over in our YouTube chat making a really good observation that I was about to hit on. Andrew Nembhard has not been as good this year, especially offensively in terms of his ability to shoot the ball. Going into last night, only shooting 29% from 3 on the year. That's just not very good. And the Pacers need another guy on the floor who's got some passing skill. Jarris Walker has that. And the ability to shoot. Jarris Walker shooting over 40% from 3 on the season. Like the kid is just lighting it up right now. And so he's going to play important playoff minutes for the Pacers. Last night was awesome. There were a couple possessions and you can see Rick Carlisle and the rest of his teammates just trusting him more and more. He's out there with the bench unit and they're letting him handle the ball and run screen and roll. They are trusting him more and more as the season has gone on, which is really good for the Pacers. Not only this year, heading into the playoffs, giving them one extra guy who can go and kind of score and create and do those things, but also just for the future of the franchise. They may have to let Obi Toppin go in the offseason, and they may have to move off of Benedict Mathurin here at some point. And the emergence of Jarris Walker, I think, makes those decisions a little bit easier to make going forward. Last guy that I want to hit on. Tyrese Halliburton, man. I need that version of Tyrese Halliburton just a little bit more often. Okay? 8 straight points in the fourth quarter. Hit a big 3 late to take the lead with about 3.5 minutes left. And last night, we just got a really good Tyrese Halliburton game. It was so good. He took more shots than anyone else. He was efficient, 8 of 16 from the floor. 4 of 11 from 3, probably a few more threes than I would like for him to take. But hey, when you're 4 of 11, it's kind of hard for me to argue. He led the Pacers in scoring with 23 points. He led the Pacers in rebounding with 8. And obviously, he led the Pacers in assists with 10. The guy was aggressive, flying all over the floor. He had 3 blocks last night. Super engaged on the defensive side of the ball. And it was a really good game from him. And that version of Tyrese Halliburton, the one that's scoring the basketball, is uber aggressive yet still makes the right play when he needs to. That guy can lead the Pacers to multiple playoff series wins. That version of Tyrese Halliburton that is aggressive, scoring, and defending, that is a top 15 player in the NBA. That is what Tyrese Halliburton looked like last night. And hopefully, that continues into the playoffs because if they play the Bucks, they're going to need Tyrese Halliburton to be a top 15 player in the NBA if they want to win that series. But he was great last night. Hopefully, it continues. The Pacers are now officially your 4th seed in the Eastern Conference, and I'm excited. Home court in the first round, the improvement from this team, not only from last year to this year, but from the first quarter of the season till now has been just magnificent. It's been, I think, one of the more underrated stories of the NBA this year. The Pacers are playing really well right now. I think that they beat either the Pistons or the Bucks in that first round playoff series, and they're going to give the Cleveland Cavaliers all they can handle. I can't wait to kind of see this. And man, the Pacers, they're going to be your fourth seed in the Eastern Conference. And I'm going to give you more thoughts, kind of recap the season and just the incredible turnaround that we've seen when we come back here in about 4 minutes.
The best takes. Maybe. The Real Jonathan Smith Show on Indy Sports Ticket 1430 AM, 93.9 HD2, and always on the free Indy Sports Ticket app.
What's going on? Welcome back to the Real Jonathan Smith Show here on Indy's Sports Ticket. Hopefully you've had a nice week. It is Friday. Hopefully you have good plans this weekend, including, hanging out, watching the Masters, watching some hoops on Sunday as well. I can't wait. I'm jacked up. I'm ready to go. It's going to be good. Thanks for tuning in, no matter how you're tuning in, whether that's YouTube, Indy Sports Ticket, Twitter, __ Jonathan Smith, or maybe you're listening via that Indy Sports Ticket app, which you can download wherever you get your apps. And if you want a little bit more from me, you can go check out my other YouTube channel, My Take Is. And the Pacers are officially the 4th seed in the Eastern Conference. They've got 2 games to just kind of rest up, do whatever. I'm pumped to watch those 2 games because we're going to get a lot of Jarris Walker minutes and a lot of him having the basketball. And I can't wait to watch him go at it. So I'm excited. Probably won't see Halliburton or Turner or anyone else that's super important play tonight for the Pacers. But one way or the other, I'm still excited to watch the Pacers play the Magic tonight. And while I do have thoughts on them playing against the Magic in a game that doesn't really matter for either team, the Magic are locked into that 7th seed, whether they win, lose, draw, whatever. And the Pacers are now locked into that 4th seed. But if they win out and the Knicks lose out, which probably won't happen, then they could be the 3 seed. We'll have to wait and see, though. What a turnaround, though, for your Indiana Pacers. They started the season 10-15. 10-15. And it was just rough. No one was playing well. Tyrese Halliburton got off to a slow start. Remember when we were talking about whether or not he should have gone and played in Paris, even though he didn't really play? Overreacting to every little thing. And now you look up, and the Pacers have won 49 games with a real chance to win 50 games for the first time in the last 11 years. Just so you know how long ago that was, Paul George and David West were your leading scorers on that team in that 2013-2014 season. Danny Granger was still on the roster the last time that the Pacers won 50 games in a season. And, I feel like I keep coming back to this every day. If only the Pacers could beat bad teams a little more consistently, they would easily be the 3 seed. They are one of 3 teams in the Eastern Conference that has a winning record against teams that are 500 or better. Okay, and if they could just beat the bad teams, like they would easily be the 3 seed, but they can't for some reason. Anyway, I'm not here to complain. I'm here to compliment the Pacers on their ability to bounce back from what has been a really slow start. And they're now 39-16 since that 10-15 start. They figured it out. And now they're going to host a first-round playoff series because Tyrese Halliburton, started looking like an all-NBA player again. Pascal Siakam is in the middle of the best year of his career. They've just figured it out. Miles Turner shooting the ball better. Jarris Walker has been brought along. TJ McConnell started playing well again. Obi Toppin caught fire after the All-Star break. They've just figured things out. And they've gotten better. What the Detroit Pistons have done has been rather impressive. Tripling their win total from last year to this year. It's really cool. It's quite the story, really. But that's easy. It is easier to go from 20 wins or 14 wins like the Pacers had, or like the Pistons had last year. It's easier to go from 14 wins to 40 wins than it is to go from 47 wins and be a 6 seed like the Pacers were last year to potentially being a 50-win team as the 4 seed. Like that, those small movements when you're already good, those are the harder things to accomplish. Okay, that is an improvement, and they should keep getting better from there. Because when you look at this Pacers roster, there's a lot of youth on it. Like Tyrese Halliburton's 24, 25. Jarris Walker's only his 2nd year. Benedict Mathurin only his 3rd year. Like the guys on the roster that you would classify as older would be Miles Turner, Pascal Siakam, and TJ McConnell. And they're all in their early 30s. Like a lot of the guys that are contributing to this Pacers team are younger. And so hopefully as those players continue to improve, the Pacers will improve with them, and eventually they'll be a 1 seed, and they'll be a legitimate NBA Finals contender. Okay, now, speaking of the Finals, it's going to be tough to win 4 series this year, which it is every year. Winning 4 series in the NBA playoffs is one of the hardest things to do in all of sports. Just imagine, if you're if you're in the Eastern Conference this year, like you're probably going to have to go through either Cleveland, you're going to have to go through Cleveland and Boston, and then you're going to see the Oklahoma City Thunder in the NBA Finals more than likely. If you're out west, geez Louise, if you're out west, the teams out there, like it's just going to be an absolute bloodbath. Like the top 8 seeds in the Western Conference, you could put together a pretty convincing argument as to why they could play in the Western Conference Finals this year. It's loaded out there. And then once again, you look at the East and you're like, geez, we got to play the Cavaliers and the Celtics. Whew, brutal. And when it comes to the Pacers this year, though, their road to the NBA Finals begins with either the Bucks or the Pistons. Good news. Seems more and more likely that between the Bucks and the Pistons, who the Pacers wind up playing is going to come down to these final 2 games. So the Bucks and Pistons, no extra rest for those teams. The Pistons are 2 games back of the Bucks. It's where we're at right now. And you said, well, Jonathan, there's only 2 games left. Bucks should have it. No, because they play each other to close the season. They play each other twice. The Bucks and Pistons are going to play each other tonight, and then they're going to turn around and play each other again on Sunday afternoon. And those 2 games are like they will decide who the Pacers wind up playing. The Pistons, if they win both, they will be the 5th seed. If the Bucks win 1, then they will be the 5th seed. And we want the Pistons to win both of those games. As great of a player as Cade Cunningham is, and as great of a story as the Pistons have been this season, I don't want to see Giannis in the playoffs. He's the best player in the Eastern Conference. He should finish 3rd in MVP voting. Like, that is how good he has been this year. Like that guy is just awesome. And like, I don't want in any way, shape, or form for my team to have to play that dude. Because it's very rare in the NBA playoffs that the best player in a conference, because that's what Giannis is, the best player in the Eastern Conference. It's very rare that the best player in a conference loses in the first round, no matter what their seed is. And I know that Damian Lillard isn't playing right now. I don't care. Honestly, part of me is like, I would kind of rather Damian Lillard play, because if he did, then Giannis wouldn't have the ball as much as he's going to with Damian Lillard not playing in this series. So we'll see. Hopefully the Pistons win both, so we don't have to worry about Giannis, but we will find out. Apparently the Colts just re-signed Mo Alley Cox. Who cares? They're going to hopefully draft a tight end with that 14th pick. If it's not with the 14th pick, then they'll do it in the 2nd round, and hopefully we don't see Mo Alley Cox touch the field hardly at all this season. Okay, we'll have to kind of see what winds up happening. Very excited for the NFL draft. I went on a show in Pennsylvania yesterday just to kind of talk about who the Colts were going to draft and all that kind of stuff. So we'll see. But anyway, when we come back here in about 4 minutes or so, it is Friday, which means we have to do Funless Friday. Also, coming up later in the show, Jared Dubin of lastnightinbasketball.com. He's going to join the show. We're going to talk NBA playoffs and, of course, Zack Gray at 11:40 to give out some bets. But when we come back here in about 4 minutes, Funless Friday on The Real Jonathan Smith Show.
If it's in today's sports world, it's here. The Real Jonathan Smith Show on Indy Sports Ticket 1430 AM, 93.9 HD2, and always on the free Indy Sports Ticket app.
What's going on? Welcome back to the Real Jonathan Smith Show here on Indy Sports Ticket. Thanks for tuning in, no matter how you're tuning in, whether that's YouTube, Indy Sports Ticket. If you want to head over there and subscribe, maybe you're watching on Twitter, _ Jonathan Smith. Or maybe you're listening via that Indy Sports Ticket app, which you can download wherever you download your apps. Josh Simmons, I know Colts fans are going to be elated to hear this. Big offensive tackle out of Ohio State is visiting with the Colts today. Oh, man. I'm sorry. I find that funny just because, we're out here talking about tight ends and the Colts need a linebacker. And that 14th pick, the Colts select Josh Simmons, offensive tackle out of Ohio State. Oh, my gosh. That would be so funny. People would be so incredibly frustrated if Chris Ballard traded back because, Josh Simmons is like a late first round kind of offensive tackle. If Chris Ballard traded back and drafted an offensive tackle, people would be so pissed. I think I would find that absolutely hysterical. Anyway, as we do every Friday here on the Real Jonathan Smith Show, we do this thing called not every Friday, almost every Friday. We do this thing called Funless Friday, and it's just, it's supposed to be fun because I think we forget that sports are kind of supposed to be fun, and the NBA season, it ends on Sunday, and it was a fun year. I had a great time watching all these hoops, and a lot of things happen every year over the course of an 82-game season. Guys get cut. Guys get traded. John Morant gets fined for doing a gun celebration, and then he pulls out the grenade celebration. Things happen. We had two coaches, head coaches of playoff teams, get fired less than 2 weeks before the playoffs started. Drama and storylines are never lacking in the NBA. They aren't. And so here are just a few of my favorites from the season. Obviously, the biggest one, the Pacers turnaround, which has not been advertised enough to start 10-15 and then potentially get to 50 wins. If they win tonight, they'll be there. If they don't win tonight and they win Sunday, then they'll hit 50 wins for the first time in 11 years. Like that is something that should be talked about more than what it is. But, let's just be honest. The NBA is all about, not the Pacers. It's about everybody but the Pacers, it seems. But they've turned it around. Tyrese Halliburton's monster second half of the season has been one of the more entertaining parts of the NBA this year. The Pascal Siakam consistency has also been just a ton of fun to watch this year. Like, you just know that guy's going to get you 24 and 8 every single night. That's how good he's been this year. So Pacers, they're a monster second half, and their turnaround after starting 10-15 the first quarter of the season has to be on this list. My favorite thing, though, and I'm going to talk to Jared Dubin about this. He's coming on at 11:20. The Houston Rockets, their story this year, it's just been so much fun. Before the season, I was excited about the Rockets because I thought that Reed Shepherd was going to win Rookie of the Year. And I thought he was going to be awesome. I still do. The issue is he's playing for the Rockets, and the Rockets have ended up being really good this year. And the Rockets have wound up being my favorite team to watch. They play so incredibly hard. Ime Udoka is an excellent head coach. And his ability to get young players to buy in is really amazing. It's almost like when you bench guys for not playing hard, they start to play hard and buy into whatever the head coach is selling. The emergence of Amen Thompson has been one of the more enjoyable things to watch in the NBA this year, because I think we lose sight of this all the time. Professional sports is about winning more than anything else. With that being said, they are still playing a game, And as a consumer, it should just be fun sometimes. Just sit down and watch a game. And like when you watch the Rockets play, like it's fun because the energy and the effort is never lacking from that team. And if it is, then Ime Udoka pulls him out and he sets him on the bench and he puts someone else in who he thinks is going to play hard and really work. The Cleveland Cavaliers have to be on this list as well. They are, you can make an argument, the best story in the NBA this year because so many times we see NBA teams rise to relevance because they signed someone important in the offseason. They signed LeBron James. They make a trade for Paul George or whatever it winds up being. They sign Kawhi Leonard. And the Cavaliers didn't do that. They rose to contention through drafting and developing players. The development of Darius Garland and Evan Mobley is why the Cleveland Cavaliers are good enough to win the NBA Finals this year. It's why they're going to make it back to the Eastern Conference. It's why they're the number one seed in the East. It's why they have the best offense in the NBA. It's because they've drafted and developed players. They also play just an incredibly fun style of basketball. There's not a ton of one-on-one. If you watched them last night, I mean, you saw it. There's not a ton of one-on-one. They move the ball. They're very well coached. Kenny Atkinson has done an excellent job in his first year there. And they've just done a really good job of developing players. And when you're able to do that, which you have to be able to do if you're a small market team, then good luck. Like if you can't do that, like you're not going to be very successful. And so seeing Cleveland develop players over these past few years has been just really a joy to watch, and you're seeing why they're good now. The Pistons, they also have to be on this list. Coaching matters. It just does. They got rid of Monty Williams. They hired J.B. Bickerstaff, and they've ascended. First team in the history of the NBA to ever triple their win total from one year to the next. Crazy. First team ever. There's a little caveat on that. The Charlotte Bobcats did that, but the year they went from like 17 wins to whatever triple that is. But the year that they won 17 games, it was the NBA lockout season, and so they only played like 65 games. Obviously, if they'd played 82, they probably would have won one more. So there's a little caveat on that. But the emergence of Cade Cunningham, who's probably going to be all NBA this year, has been just a lot of fun to watch. Jay Nivey, looking like he was going to be a real dude before he, broke his femur, was a lot of fun to watch. There's some potential that he comes back and he plays during the playoffs. We'll see if that winds up happening or not. But they've been just a ton of fun to watch, and it is a nice reminder that coaching does matter even at the highest levels of basketball. Another storyline I've really enjoyed, the Phoenix Suns being bad. Matt Ishbia at the end of last year, sitting at the podium, saying that there are 26 teams in the NBA that would trade for their roster immediately if they could. Saying that and then having the Suns be terrible this year, it just makes me smile. It just does. I find it so funny that the Suns have underperformed more than any other team in the NBA, and it's not close. Who would have thought? It's like, hey, let's pay Bradley Beal a whole bunch of money. He'll help us. No, he won't, because that guy doesn't like to play basketball. Either way, when you have Devin Booker and Bradley Beal and Kevin Durant, you should make the playoffs. Suns aren't even going to make the play-in. It's like this isn't NBA 2K. You have to build a real team, and everyone wants to pile on Matt Ishbia, and I'm going to kind of defend him here. But let's just be really honest. If you bought a team, or if I bought a team, and the first day that I owned them, someone came to me and was like, hey, if you trade these picks away, you can have Kevin Durant. Where's the dotted line? Let me sign on this. I would love to have Kevin Durant on my basketball team. If I owned it, I would. And so while everyone's going to kind of pile on him, I do feel like everyone would have made that choice if it was their first time owning an NBA team. Last storyline that I think is really important and that I know that the NBA really loves. LeBron and Steph are playing for legitimate contenders. The NBA playoffs are just more fun to watch when the legends in the league are relevant. Steph Curry and the Warriors are legitimately relevant. LeBron James and the Lakers are beyond relevant, not just in terms of being interesting, but also in terms of, these teams could make runs to the Western Conference Finals. And watching 40-year-old LeBron turn it on during the playoffs is going to be a blast to watch. Watching Steph Curry do all of the amazing things that he does whenever he plays basketball is going to be so much fun to watch. And I can't wait to watch the Lakers and the Warriors play in the playoffs. Okay, it's going to be a nice little trip down memory lane because, look, we're not getting many more, Steph Curry playoff moments. We're not getting many more LeBron James playoff moments. So I can't wait. It's going to be an absolute blast to watch these teams play. Now, something that's not a blast is NIL. And I've read two stories these last couple of days, or I've seen two stories these last 2 days that have just, upset me even more. So Baylor has this stud. Kid's name's Rob Wright. He's a guard. Dude can play. Oh, man. He signed a $1 million NIL deal to stay at Baylor this offseason. Walks in, hey, Coach Scott. Yeah, $1 million sounds great. Let me sign that. Signs it. Signature on the paper. Then BYU tampers, because there's no way that they didn't, and says, hey, if you come to BYU, we'll triple it. We'll pay you $3 million. That's insane. That's just that's absurd. It just further emphasizes the importance of contracts and how we need them in this NIL era. And that's just crazy to me. I feel like once a guy signs something, there is no getting out of it at all whatsoever. There doesn't need to be, at least. But everyone's been saying that. It's just that story came out yesterday, and it really upset me. And then today, I wake up, I'm scrolling Twitter, and oh man, Nico Iamaleava, a name that Iamaleava, good luck, trying to spell that. It was reported by On3 this morning. Nico Iamaleava was the number 2 ranked quarterback a couple years ago. He was ranked behind Arch Manning. Okay. Apparently, Nico Iamaleava, who plays football for Tennessee, is currently in active contract negotiations with the University of Tennessee. And apparently, if the negotiations don't go well, he could enter the portal in the spring. Could you imagine? You're a college football player, or you're a college football coach, and you don't have to worry about the quarterback position because you've got this guy, Nico Iamaleava, who's very likely going to be a first-round pick in the NFL draft in 2026. And you're a Tennessee fan, and you're sitting around, and you're like, oh, we're going to be great. And then this news hits your phone. Hey, Nico wants more money. Oh, does he? Well, we don't have another quarterback that's as good as Nico Iamaleava. So he kind of has us by the balls right now. And then you just kind of have to do whatever they want. And once again, this isn't this is pro sports. Like that is what this is. And once again, this is just another example of how we need contracts in college basketball. And Jay Billis, who he is a smart guy. He says some things though that don't make any sense. And every time a player leaves, he talks about how, or a coach leaves, he talks about how the coaches portal is always open. Yeah, but you know what doesn't happen? Coaches every year don't go back to their boss and ask for a raise when they're average and they don't win anything. Coaches usually get raises after they've been good for a few years. It's usually that, not always. Dusty May got a nice little extension after the good start, and Indiana fired Mike Woodson. That happens sometimes, but most of the time in the real world, not in the NIL world, you don't get a raise until you've performed for multiple years. And now you've got, Nico Iamaleava was the starter for one season. And like, he was good, but he wasn't that good. And so it's frustrating. College sports becomes more and more like pro sports every single day. It is full-blown pay for play now, which doesn't bother me as much as it used to. But this whole like, hey, if you don't pay me more money right now, I'm just going to enter the transfer portal after our spring game. That really rubs me the wrong way, and the NCAA has got to find a way to step in and limit some of the things that are going on right now. Because it's really, really problematic. And it's great when that, high end, transfer leaves whatever school and comes yours. You're like, this is great, until some high end player that you like leaves your school, and then you complain about it. So this needs to be regulated in some way, shape, or form. Hopefully the NCAA finds out a way to do that soon. When we come back here in about 4 minutes, we're going to talk Pacers beating the Cavs last night, clinching that fourth seed. Probably going to touch on the Colts releasing Matt Gay as well. Coming up here in about 25 minutes, though, Jared Dubin, lastnightbasketball.com. He joins the show to talk about the NBA playoffs.
do this. It's the Real Jonathan Smith Show on Indy Sports Ticket, 1430 AM, 93.9 HD2, and always on the free Indy Sports Ticket app.
What's going on? Welcome back to the Real Jonathan Smith Show here on Indy Sports Ticket. Hopefully you're having a nice week. Thanks for tuning in, no matter how you're tuning in, whether that's YouTube, Indy Sports Ticket. If you want to head over there and subscribe. Maybe you're watching on Twitter, _ Jonathan Smith. Maybe you're listening via that Indy Sports Ticket app, where you can listen to not only my show, but also the Dan Dockett Show from noon to 3. And if you want even more from me, go check out My Take Is over on YouTube. Pacers, Cavaliers last night. Pacers clinched the 4th seed in what was an excellent game. And before the game, the Pacers were favored by 9.5 because the Cavaliers were sitting everyone out. And when you see the injury report, no Darius Garland, no Donovan Mitchell, no Evan Mobley, no Max Strus. I mean, the Cavaliers' 3 best players didn't play last night. So you see that and you're like, yeah, 9.5, that makes sense. If you've seen the Cavaliers play, you knew not to bet that line last night. Because the Cavaliers are arguably the deepest team in the NBA. They are incredibly good. I mean, Ty Jerome, who pieced the Pacers up last night, he would be the starting point guard on a lot of teams in the NBA. They have an insane amount of depth and an insane amount of shooting. And that shooting showed up last night. They shot 46% from 3. I mean, Sam Merrill, if you didn't know who that was before last night, you know who that is now. 5 threes, 5 of 8 from downtown. Hit a couple tough ones as well. I mean, the dude is just Sam Merrill, man. He's so much fun to watch. Anyway, so Pacers played them last night. And the Pacers just picked a really bad night to shoot the ball poorly from 3. Okay, while Sam Merrill is just lighting the Pacers on fire. I mean, just, hitting every 3. It felt like he didn't miss for the, entire second half. But, that's obviously not true. But, I mean, like the dude just didn't miss. And while he's not missing, the Pacers just can't seem to buy a 3. Pacers ended up shooting 34% from 3 last night, while the Cleveland Cavaliers shot 46% from 3 last night. And despite that, Pacers still found a way to win. And when you go through the numbers, especially the really important ones, and you see the fact that the Pacers lost not pretty much every important statistic, and they still found a way to win. It's really impressive. Because usually when you make less threes, when you shoot a worse percentage from 3, when you take less shots, when you get out rebounded, you lose. Not the Pacers, though. Not the Pacers. They still found a way to win despite being outperformed in all of those very important categories. And the reason why the Pacers were still able to win that game last night was they made more free throws than Cleveland. They turned the ball over less, and they blocked 11 shots. Those 3 things really leveled the playing field for the Pacers last night. And I talk about shooting all the time whenever I talk about both the NBA and college basketball, because the ability to shoot the basketball is more important than it's ever been, okay? Because teams are putting up threes like crazy, and usually if you make more threes than your opponent, you tend to win these games. But getting to the free throw line is actually a great way to minimize the impact of those threes. Because you're right. Like, if you make 3 more threes than I do, then, like, you're up by 9 points. Okay, like that is a 9-point difference. That is what happened between the Pacers and the Cavaliers last night. But if I'm able to outscore you at the free throw line by 5, and I, am able to figure out a way to score a few more paint points than you, then, like, I have the lead now. And the Pacers outscored the Cavaliers at the free throw line, and they outscored them in terms of points in the paint. And part of why they outscored them in terms of points in the paint was the defense, more specifically the rim protection. Once again, 11 blocks from the Indiana Pacers last night, which leads me to, fan favorite Miles Turner, who, when you go through just like the counting stats, like he wasn't overwhelmingly great on the offensive side of the ball. Only 4 of 9 shooting, 1 of 4 from 3. Okay, he only grabbed 7 rebounds. He only had 13 points. But his real impact on the game was on the defensive side of the ball. The guy had 4 blocks. I think we forget all too often how good of a rim protector Miles Turner is. I mean, this guy has been, the block champion in the NBA before. I believe he's done it twice, if I remember correctly. And last night he played a huge role blocking shots at the rim. Keeping, even just like what's really impressive about some rim protectors, and Miles Turner did this last night, is guys will get in the lane and really want to take a shot, but they won't because they know that the rim protector, in this case Miles Turner, is there. And that happened a couple times last night. Usually that leads to misses for the Cavaliers last night. It just led to more made threes. But having a guy who can really protect the rim is important, especially if you want to win in the playoffs. And when we talk about Miles Turner, we can talk about the 3-point shooting because he shot the ball really well this year. I believe he's still going to set a career high in terms of three-point percentage in a season. We can talk about the lack of rebounding and all those things, but the most important thing that Miles Turner does for the Indiana Pacers is protect the rim. It is hard to win games if you don't have someone who can block shots. Just go back to the Purdue season. Really tough to win games when you register 0 blocked shots. A little bit easier to win games when you register 11 blocked shots like the Pacers did last night. Miles Turner had 4 of them. Tyrese Halliburton had 3 of them. Kind of crazy right there. But my favorite thing that we saw from Miles Turner last night, as great as the blocks were and as great as the shooting has been this season, he for the entire decade he's played for the Pacers, he's gotten crap for not being a great rebounder. And he's not. He's not a great rebounder. He's never going to grab 20 rebounds in a game. He's going to grab you somewhere between 7 and 10, and you're going to like it. But last night, I'm watching the game. Pacers are up by 1. They have the ball. Cavaliers opt not to foul. They're like, we're going to get a stop and then come down and score. Pacers run really good offense. A lot of drive and kick. They end up getting Tyrese Halliburton, who had an excellent fourth quarter. They end up finding him, and he's wide open for 3. And he steps into it, and he lets it go, and it's like, yeah, that's money. Pacers up by 4, ball game. Nope. Ball rattles in and out. Miles Turner, though, comes crashing in from the top side corner and grabs this very important game-sealing offensive rebound. He grabs it. He kicks it out. Aaron Nesmith, the Pacers' best free throw shooter, ends up with the basketball. Cavaliers had to foul him because there's only 14 seconds left. That offensive rebound was huge for the Pacers. And I really hope that we can continue to see Miles Turner be tough and make plays like that and continue to block shots going into the playoffs because the Pacers are going to need him to do all of those things. In addition to him playing really well last night, Jarris Walker just once again was a stud. 15 points in 15 minutes off the bench. He was 6 of 7 shooting and 3 of 4 from 3. He only had 3 rebounds, which is a little disappointing, but this guy has really turned a corner here as of late. I mean, over the last 8 games, or 7 of the last 8, because he didn't really play in that win over Washington, he's just been really good. 15 points in 15 minutes last night against Cleveland. Against Denver on the road, plays 21 minutes, scores 11 points, pulls down 6 rebounds. That is the thing that's become really impressive about Jarris Walker. He doesn't have to score to have an impact on the game. Because he comes in, he plays good defense now, still not a great defender. There's still definitely room there for him to grow, but he's a good defender, and he's rebounding, which the Pacers need because Miles Turner just isn't a great rebounder. He's stopped turning the ball over. Before last night, he'd had 5 straight games with 0 turnovers. That's an important thing for him because earlier in the year, he would check into games and just make bad decisions, or someone would be open and the pass just would be not perfect. It'd be a little lazy, and so it would get stolen, or it would, go out of bounds. But he's really self-corrected that, which has been good, and that's why he's playing more, because he's just playing better basketball, and that's big for the Pacers. He gives them another guy who can come in and rebound and score and defend because he's shooting, over 40% from 3 on the season. The emergence of Jarris Walker has been very important for the Pacers this season, and hopefully he continues to play this well heading into the playoffs. And last thing here on the game from last night, Tyrese Haliburton scores 8 straight points in the fourth quarter, include hitting a big three late in the game to take the lead with about 3.5 minutes left. It was an outstanding Tyrese Haliburton game. You can't ask for much more than what he did last night. Like, the version of Tyrese Haliburton that we got last night is a version of Tyrese Haliburton that the Pacers can win multiple playoff series with. He took more shots than any other Pacer last night. He was efficient on those shots, 8 of 16 from the floor. He was 4 of 11 from 3, which means, he was 4 of 5 on 2-point shots. Wish that he would, take more twos sometimes. But, hey, when you shoot 4 of 11 from 3, I'm not really going to argue with you. He led the Pacers in scoring with 23 points. He led the Pacers in rebounds with 8. He led the Pacers in assists with 10. He was the perfect combination of aggressive, yet still making the right play. He was also an excellent defender. 3 blocks last night. Active in passing lanes. He was a good help side defender. And once again, that version of Tyrese Haliburton, the Pacers can win a lot of games with. And I'm excited because if he plays like that in the playoffs, the Pacers are just going to be a blast to watch, and they're going to be a tough out for whoever plays them. And they are the 4th seed. They're going to play either the Bucks or the Pistons. We're going to know, who the Pacers have potentially tonight. Bucks and Pistons play each other in the final 2 games of the year. If the Pistons win both, the Pacers will play the Pistons. If the Bucks win one of the 2, then the Pacers will play the Bucks. And the turnaround from the Pacers this year has been nothing short of spectacular. They were 10-15. Tyrese Haliburton looked like he had regressed. And now the Pacers have a real chance to win 50 games for the first time in 11 years. For reference, 11 years ago, Paul George and David West were the 2 leading scorers for the Indiana Pacers. 11 years ago, I was 14 years old and in high school. It's been a long time. And this Pacers turnaround has just been so much fun to watch. They're 39-16 in their last 55 games. They figured it out. Tyrese Haliburton looks like a top 15 player in the NBA. They're going to host a first-round playoff series. They have improved upon their regular season from last year. They went from a 47-win 6 seed to a potential 50-win 4 seed. That's improvement, and I think that this Pacers team is going to continue to get better. Okay, they've got good young players on the roster that hopefully as they improve, the Pacers will improve as well. Hopefully the Colts will figure out the whole improvement thing here soon. As of yesterday, they just released Matt Gay, when he was released, the 4th highest paid kicker in the NFL. I don't mind the release. I guess they're going to rely on Spencer Schrader, who's only attempted 5 field goals in his entire NFL career, of which he is 5 of 5 with a career long of 45 yards. He's also never missed a PAT. And the Colts cut Matt Gay because it's going to save him some money and because Matt Gay struggled past 50 yards last year. And my thing with Matt Gay, I get why they decided to, cut him and save the money and do all those things. But, man, whoever they bring in to kick, whoever it winds up being, whether it's the Spencer Schrader kid or they sign some other free agent, they better be good. Because Matt Gay, say what you want about the kicks, over 50 yards. He was 3 for 9, but he didn't miss a PAT all year last year. And he was 28 for 28 on kicks inside of 50 yards. That guy was consistent. You felt good every time he was sent out to kick. He passed the piss test, meaning when Matt Gay was sent out to kick a field goal, I was like, all right, cool. I can go pee because he's probably going to make this. I just, and now he's gone, and it's fine if Spencer Schrader or whoever the Colts bring in can make kicks, because you never notice the kicker until they start to suck, until you have to be like, you know what? I now have to sit here and watch this PAT or this field goal attempt because I don't know if the guy that my favorite team, the Colts, is running out there can make these or not. And that's not a fun place to be. Matt Gay, late in games with 3 seconds left on the clock, getting ready to attempt, a 42-yarder. You feel great about. Spencer Schrader, kid, I don't know how to feel about it. And that is the one slight issue I have with the move. I get it. Matt Gay didn't live up to his contract because he missed those 6 field goals over 50 yards. But whoever they bring in better be just as good, if not better, or else we're all going to riot and be like, why did we get rid of Matt Gay? And it's going to be funny. When we come back, here in about 4 minutes, Jared Dubin of lastnightinbasketball.com. He joins the show to talk about the Pacers and the rest of the NBA. It's going to be great. Make sure you stick around for it. I'll be back with Jared Dubin here in about 4 minutes.
It may, one day, be a must-listen for sports enthusiasts.
Yeah, and monkeys might fly out of my butt.
Uh-oh. The Real Jonathan Smith Show on Indy Sports Ticket 1430 AM, 93.9 HD2, and always on the free Indy Sports Ticket app.
What's going on? Welcome back to The Real Jonathan Smith Show. Thanks for tuning in, no matter how you're tuning in, whether that's YouTube, Indy Sports Ticket, if you want to subscribe. Maybe you're watching on Twitter, __ Jonathan Smith, if you want to follow me there. Maybe you're listening via that Indy Sports Ticket app, which you can download wherever you find your apps. If you want more from me, head over to YouTube. Search for My Take Is. It's a little side thing that I've got going on. A lot of NBA stuff going on over there right now. And speaking of the NBA, Jared Dubin of LastNightInBasketball.com joins the show to talk about the Pacers clinching the 4th seed last night and the rest of the NBA playoffs. Jared, what's going on, man? How are you?
I'm doing all right, man. How are you?
I'm good. The Pacers finally clinched. And I'm excited. I would rather them play the Pistons than the Bucks. Where are you at on who you think would be the more favorable matchup for the Pacers in this first-round series?
Well, I think it depends on Damian Lillard's status, right? Like, if the Bucks don't have him, then I think both the Pacers and the Knicks might prefer to play against Milwaukee, just because there would really be, just one, maybe two offensive threats that you got to worry about. And especially at that point guard spot, your offense in the playoffs, if you don't have good point guard play, is not going to be very good, even if you have somebody like Giannis. And we've seen before, Doc Rivers teams, their offense tends to slow down in the playoffs to begin with. So the two of those things combined maybe make me lean toward Milwaukee a little bit. But obviously the Pistons, with the exception of Tobias Harris, they don't have all that much playoff experience. And that's always something that tends to hurt teams a little bit when they go into their first run.
Yeah, the experience piece matters. I think whenever I talk to people about this, I think we forget that, like, Jaden Ivey isn't there either. Like, he is their second best player. So I think for me, Jared, I probably think about things too simply. And for me, it's like neither one of these teams have their second best player right now. We're obviously still waiting to hear back on Lillard. There's a chance Jaden Ivey returns, but it seems pretty slim. For me, it's like I'd rather play Cade Cunningham than Giannis because I just don't think we see the best player in a conference lose in the first round very often, and that's what Giannis has been this year.
Yeah, that's definitely a pretty good way to look at it. And when you combine that with the fact that, again, the Pistons, it's Tobias Harris has a bunch of playoff experience. Tim Hardaway has a little bit, and not really all that much else. Maybe you don't necessarily believe in Detroit's defense as much. They've been a top 10 defense throughout the season, but obviously things change a little bit. I don't have it, in front of me off the top of my head. How did Indiana do against both those teams in the regular season?
They went 1-4 against the Bucks, and I believe they went 2-2 against the Pistons. It might be 3-1 in favor of the Pacers, though. I don't know about that one.
Yeah, I mean, look, Milwaukee, you definitely don't want to see. Now that I think about it more, I would rather not see Giannis in a playoff series. I think that's probably the right answer.
Yeah, that's especially right now, because he's just. I know you watch, but for the listeners who haven't been watching Giannis, it's like a triple-double every night, and he's playing out of his mind right now. What about the rest of the Eastern Conference? It's pretty set in stone. You being a Knicks fan, do you have a preference on which one of those two teams your team plays in the first round?
My preference for the Knicks would be for them to lose these two games to Cleveland and Brooklyn these next couple days and have Indiana beat Orlando and Cleveland so that the Knicks don't have to play Boston in the second round, assuming they make it through the first. That's my preference. I was just talking about it with a couple people on some, Knicks fan text message chains that I've got. That would be my preference, but it seems pretty, I don't know if it's outside the realm of possibility, but the Knicks tend to not necessarily tank games like some other teams will, although it did seem a little bit last night against Detroit that they may not have necessarily 100% tried to win that game. So I'll be interested to see, how many of their guys play tonight against Cleveland, how many of Cleveland's guys play tonight against the Knicks. Like, do the Cavs want to set up a potential second-round series against the Knicks? Like, would they rather that happen than play, the winner of an Indiana-Milwaukee series or something like that?
Yeah, that's interesting because it's like, is it the Cavaliers have been
pretty much however they want. Like if they decide we're not going to play our guys against the Knicks tonight, then they're saying that they would rather see Indiana. If they decide we're going to play against the Knicks, try to win that game, and then sit our guys against Indiana on Sunday, they're saying we'd rather see the Knicks. They've kind of got their choice here, depending on what they want to do in these next couple games.
The Pacers have their choice as well, because all they have to do is lose tonight, and they will be the 4th seed. They won't be able to catch the Knicks after that. I believe that's how that's going to work.
Yeah,
so
there's one Knicks win or one Pacer loss clinches them into the 3 and 4 respectively. New York ahead.
Do you find it funny that the Cavaliers have been awesome all year, yet it seems like everyone would rather play them than Boston?
Yeah, I mean it's obviously a little bit funny, I guess, but I mean we know what kind of monster Boston can be, particularly in a playoff setting, and we haven't seen the same thing from the Cavs. They got beat pretty badly by the Knicks a couple of years ago in the playoffs. It took them a little bit of a struggle, obviously, last year to beat Orlando and then go up against Boston, not so successfully. It's a different team this year, obviously, but I mean, I think it's rational to rather play against that team than play against Boston.
Joined by Jared Dubin of Last Night in Basketball.com, talking about the Pacers and the NBA playoffs, which are very quickly approaching. Last thing on the East, and then I want to ask you about the West, which is insane right now. Would you vote Tyrese Halliburton All-NBA?
I put out my All-NBA stuff this morning, and I do have Tyrese Halliburton All-NBA. I have him second-team All-NBA. To me, I think he had basically the inverse season of last year, where last season he looked like a first-team All-NBA guy for the first, 60, 65% of the season. And then after he had that injury, he sort of looked like a maybe fringe all-star All-NBA type. And I think I dropped him last year down to the third team just because of the way the season ended. This season, I would say, was more like a fringe all-star type for, 60 or so % of the season. But since the all-star break, that's, going on 27, 28, 30 games, something like that, he's played like a first-team All-NBA guy. And that was enough for me to move him up in there.
You can see all of Jared's All-NBA selections in his article if you just go over to Last Night in basketball.com. You won't be disappointed. Jared does an excellent job writing. I want to look over at the Western Conference because we don't know how that's going to shake out. Obviously, I think it's pretty similar to the Eastern Conference where everyone's trying to avoid Boston. Everyone in the West wants to avoid the Thunder for as long as possible. Who do you think's the second best team in the West this year?
Man, I don't know that I necessarily think there's a second best team, but I sort of feel the best about the Lakers just because they have LeBron and Luka. Like that's sort of enough for me, given how close everybody else is. It's like, who do I feel the best about in a playoff series? It's those two guys and it's Jokic. But Denver sort of has seemed like a mess over the last however many weeks. Fired their coach with 5 days left in the regular season. Like, we don't know if or when Jamal Murray will be able to play or what he'll look like when he is. I mean, it's kind of hard to feel as good as possible about the Nuggets, except for, like, you don't want to see Jokic in a playoff series either, in the same way that you don't want to see Giannis, but you also don't want to see Luka in a playoff series. You don't want to see LeBron in a playoff series. Like, it's those three guys, I think, for me.
Joined by Jared Dubin of LastNightInBasketball.com talking about the NBA playoffs. And I've heard everyone say exactly what you said, and I agree. What about Steph and Jimmy Butler, though? Because I don't think I want to see those guys either. And the Warriors, their defense after the trade has been awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to see those guys either. Like, right now, it's looking like we might get Lakers-Warriors in the first round, which would be pretty crazy. And, whichever of those teams made it through that series, I think might be dead by the end of it. And then, they'd probably have to see Houston, unless, like, you may get, Houston, Minnesota, or Houston, Memphis. Like, that series might not necessarily be a cakewalk either. Like, it's going to be a bloodbath in the Western Conference, no matter what those matchups wind up looking like.
It is. I can't wait. The Rockets have been my favorite team to watch all year. Like, they've just been so much fun. The Thompson emergence has been cool. Jalen Green will have these random nights where he's awesome, and Sengun has random nights where he's awesome. Yet it seems like, I think if you gave the teams in the West a choice, excluding the Kings and the Mavericks, I think a lot of people would sign up to play Houston. What are kind of your thoughts on the Rockets going into the playoffs?
Yeah, I think teams would mostly sign up to play Houston or Memphis, unless you get obviously one of those 9 or 10 teams into the playoffs. The Rockets, their defense is unbelievable. Amen Thompson is my favorite player in the league to watch right now. Just watching that guy move around the court, he's like a hulking predator. It's unbelievable to watch him on both ends of the court. I think the thing that sort of holds me back from being all that confident in the Rockets in the playoffs is just their half-court offense. And it's a struggle for them to generate the best looks in the half-court. And I think similar to what we saw with the Magic over the last couple of years, the defense is incredible. But when you can't create shots, the best shots in half-court settings, it gets really difficult.
It does, and that's, I think you're exactly right, and that's why you would want to play them. They don't have a guy who makes offense easy. Everybody else in the West seems to have that. I am curious. I'm seeing, look, either JB Bickerstaff or Kenny Atkinson is probably going to win Coach of the Year. I think Ime Udoka has every bit as good of a case as those two guys. Why do you think we aren't seeing his name as a potential winner of that award?
I think it's just been so baked in for so long. Like with Atkinson in particular, I think it's very easy to draw a straight line with his impact on their offense, which is, one of the, 10 or so best offenses in NBA history. Like they're going to set the record for offensive efficiency. Obviously, in this kind of offensive environment, you kind of want to adjust for that. And it's, one of the 10 or 15 best offenses we've ever seen. And his direct impact on that, I think, is so strong, given that they finished, 18th in offense last year, bring back essentially the same personnel, and they basically can't be stopped. Then you look at Detroit. I mean, that team has already more than tripled its win total from last season. It's just kind of hard to break into that top two based on the things that those guys have done this season.
Joined by Jared Dubin of lastnightinbasketball.com. Make sure you go and check out all of his stuff. He's a fantastic writer. So the awards are starting to be talked about more and more. All NBA, MVP has been discussed for a while. Do you have any passionate takes on any specific awards in terms of who should or shouldn't win it?
I found it really difficult to decide between, the first couple guys in a lot of the major awards this season. Like I found it especially difficult to decide Defensive Player of the Year, because once Victor Wembanyama went down and we had so many guys that are ineligible that would have been, among the top contenders for those awards. Like I think you're splitting hairs between Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and Nikola Jokic for MVP. You're splitting hairs whether it's, Evan Mobley, Dyson Daniels, Jaren Jackson, Draymond Green, Lou Dort, Jalen Williams. There are so many different guys that you could go for with Defensive Player of the Year. Rookie of the Year, it's like throw your hands up. I don't feel that great about excuse me, I don't feel that great about, any of the picks for that. Like Sixth Man of the Year even, there are so many different directions you could go. I ended up going with Malik Beasley. You could go with Peyton Pritchard. You could go with DeAndre Hunter. You could even go with DeAndre Hunter's teammate, Ty Jerome. Like most improved player, there's Dyson Daniels, Cade Cunningham, Evan Mobley, Christian Brown, like so many different guys that you could go with. Same thing with Coach of the Year, Atkinson, Bickerstaff, Ime Udoka, Mark Dagnall, Ty Lue, JJ Redick, Joe Mazzulla. Like there are so many different guys. The only one I think that I would sort of plant my flag on is you have to give Rob Pelinka Executive of the Year. Like,
yeah.
I don't see, like, even with Sam Presti bringing in Isaiah Hartenstein and Alex Caruso, I don't see how you could give it to anybody but Rob Pelinka with the Luka Doncic trade and even like the Dorian Finney. Like, you don't even have to get into the Dorian Finney-Smith trade and hiring JJ Redick, both of which worked out about as well as you could possibly imagine, because he pulled off like the biggest heist in at least in the time that I've been covering the NBA, which goes back 15 years at this point. Like it might be the biggest heist in the history of American professional basketball. Like, I don't see how you could give it to anybody but him.
Yeah, I sadly have to completely agree with that. Isn't it amazing how Michael Malone and Calvin Booth both got fired, yet Nico Harrison and Patrick Dumont both still hold jobs with the Mavericks? That's baffling to me.
Yeah, I don't know how much longer Nico Harrison can last in that job. Like, I don't want anybody to lose their jobs, but if there's ever something that, merits not having your job anymore, it's making that trade. So, yeah, I mean, I can't see it lasting that much longer unless they stubbornly are like, we are so dug in on this being the right thing that we have to keep him no matter what, just sort of out of spite for all of what our entire fan base and the entire NBA landscape wants. Like, the last time we saw that was with the Knicks and Isaiah Thomas. And, we'll see if the same thing happens here.
Last thing for you, Jared, and I will let you go. What'd you think of Luka's return to Dallas the other night?
I mean, the guy is just outrageous. Like, 45 points. He had whatever it was, 31, I think, in the first half. The entire crowd was cheering for him every time he had the ball. Like, I compared it to sort of the inverse of the first time that LeBron went back to Cleveland with the Heat. It's like basically the exact opposite of that game. And it was surreal. Like, I still can't believe every time I turn on a Laker game that he's on that team. And, I mean, I don't know if that will ever change.
Jared Dubin of last night in basketball.com. Jared, thanks for your time, man. You were great as always.
Thanks for having me, man. I appreciate it.
See ya. Once again, Jared Dubin, check him out on Twitter at JADubin5. Does a great job covering the NBA. Also covers the NFL for CBSSports.com. Writes a bunch of really good stuff. We'll come back here in about 2.5 minutes. Zack Gray, ZG the Grapevine, joins to give you bets to make this weekend. He's rolling right now, I think. Hopefully he is. But that guy does a really good job. Gets like 60% of his bets right, which is an outstanding percentage in the sports gambling world. Zack Gray joins the show when we come back here in about 2.5 minutes.
The best takes. Maybe. The Real Jonathan Smith Show on Indy Sports Ticket 1430 AM, 93.9 HD2, and always on the free Indy Sports Ticket app.
What's going on? Welcome back to the Real Jonathan Smith Show here on Indies Sports. Take it. Hopefully you're having a nice week. If you want to have a good weekend, then you've got to listen to Zack Gray, who joins the show now. He's going to give out some bets like normal. But before he does, Zach, I have to tell you about something, man. There's this event.
All right.
There's this event going on at the Ritz-Charles here in Carmel. It's on Saturday, May 10th. I don't know what you and the fiance are doing, but basically you show up, you pay $45 for these tickets, and then you get unlimited food and drinks. You sample all sorts of stuff. It's going to be a blast. Would love to have you here for it.
That sounds amazing. What's the theme there? Like, is it just everything and anything?
Everything and anything, like all sorts of different alcohol. So they do this thing called Indulge Indy every year, and it's like a big restaurant thing. I think you like vote and you kind of like help set the menu for that. And Indy Sports Ticket over at indysports.com is helping sell some tickets for it. And I'm thinking about going. If not, I'll buy 2 tickets. I'll send my wife and like one of her friends, and that way I can just kind of hang out by myself. That sounds kind of nice too. I won't lie to you.
We'll have to check it out. That sounds very interesting.
Cool. Not as interesting as sports betting though. And no more college basketball. So are you just in like full baseball mode right now?
Full baseball mode all day, every day right now.
Are we touching the NBA at all?
We are not touching the NBA. It's tough, man. It's really hard when it's college basketball and college football season interject, and I just don't have the motor to constantly do daily sports for NBA and baseball. So I just pick baseball.
That's fair. That makes sense. Do you feel like baseball is easier to bet, or do you just have a greater interest in baseball?
I just think I have better data for baseball than basketball, honestly.
That's fair. Is part of that because of how guys sit out every night in the NBA? Is it just a little easier to know who's going to play in for baseball?
That, and I just feel like I understand baseball under the hood a little more than basketball. I'm not saying that I don't understand advanced metrics for basketball because, I do college basketball stuff. I just feel like when it comes to baseball, I'm able to kind of interpret the data a little better. And then, obviously I don't want to compromise, the Grapevine brand by giving, half butt research and data. So that's why I stick to what I feel like I'm the best at.
Okay, that makes sense. Joined by Zack Gray, professional sports gambler. Go check him out on Twitter at ZG The Grapevine. He's got a link in his bio that'll take you to his Patreon where he sells tools to help you make better bets. Speaking of bets, do you have any bets to give away for today or tomorrow?
Yeah, I'm going to give you guys an MLB play tonight, 7:10 p.m. first pitch in beautiful Miami. Give me the Nationals on the money line. I have them winning by almost 2 runs. So if you wanted to sprinkle on the run line, Nationals -1.5, you can do that too. But I'm taking them -115 on the money line. Also, I'm taking the over 7.5 in that game as well. If you want to parlay it or sprinkle on it, I think those are 2 good plays in the same game. You very rarely get the double dip, but when the double dip's available, I take it at all times. It's very fun to hit 2 bets in the same game.
Oh, it definitely is. It definitely is. So you brought up baseball, and Dan and I talked about this a little bit yesterday on his show. You don't bet a ton of futures from my understanding, but I am curious. Would you bet the Rockies or the White Sox to have the worst record in Major League Baseball this year?
The Rockies.
Why?
I think they're a dumpster fire, and I think that the White Sox are a dumpster fire too, but I think the Rockies are actively working against their team. I think the White Sox are just incompetent. I think the Rockies are literally sinister in their plans to continue to make money with an average attendance somehow and to pay players as little as possible. And I think it's actually the business model for them. So I think they are going to be worse and will not be better for the foreseeable future.
My thought was just they play in the NL West, and that's kind of brutal. That seems a little tougher than the AL Central, which is a good division. But the NL West this year is just going to be crazy.
That too. Like, you can get into that as well, but just based on just how the organizations are run, like, I don't care what division. I think the Rockies would be the worst team in baseball regardless of what division they were in. That's how much disdain I have for that organization.
Okay. Yeah, that's funny. The Rockies, man. As soon as they forked out $186 million to Chris Bryant, I was like, I don't know about that.
Well, my buddy, I mention him sometimes on the show, Michael, my buddy Michael, his uncle is Jim Tracy. So he used to be the Rockies manager back when they made the I think the World Series in 2007 with Matt Holliday. He was actually the manager. So my buddy Michael has been a Rockies fan this whole time, and he's just been through it, man. I hear insider information on the Rockies and how they're going about things, and it's just really brutal, really, really brutal.
Okay. Joined by Zack Gray, professional sports gambler. Follow him on Twitter at ZG The Grapevine. Check out the link in his bio where he sells tools to help you make better bets. We're taking the Nationals minus 115 on the money line against the Marlins tonight. And if you want to parlay that with the over, go right ahead and do that, because when the double dip's available, we always take it.
We got to take it.
Got to take it. Do you have any NBA takes? We haven't talked NBA since the LaMelo Ball stuff. So do you have any other thoughts on the NBA as the season is coming to a close on Sunday?
No, I do want to ask you a real quick question. Breaking news. Am I able to break some news for you?
Of course, always.
Nico Iamaleava not at practice this morning for Tennessee.
Have you heard the backstory on that? He's negotiating a new deal.
Yes. And I think it was funny that Tennessee fans were like, oh, this isn't happening. Like, this is clickbait, rage bait, whatever. His dad came out and said it didn't happen. And it's like, okay, yeah, we've never seen someone's a player's camp or family member try to downplay an obviously real situation for PR only for it to be true.
Yeah. Okay, from my audience, you have to understand something about Zack Gray. If you play against his favorite team in any sport, in any sort of important game, as soon as he has the opportunity to troll you and crap all over you and point things out, he does it every time. Like, he never misses the opportunity to do that, and it's great. Like, it's part of what makes sports awesome. And yeah, like, I find all of this stuff to be, I couldn't imagine being a coach right now. Like, it's just gotta suck. But it's not surprising. Did you hear about what what's his name, Rob Wright did at Baylor?
I did not.
He signed $1 million NIL deal to stay at Baylor. Like signed the dotted line. And then BYU called him and was like, we'll give you $3 million. And then he left, and now he's gonna go play at BYU next year. And like, I get it, like, coaches move around, but it's not like this. You know what I mean? And so and then, now we go back to the whole we need contracts thing, which is the most obvious solution, but the NCAA can't really do anything without getting sued. And so I don't know, man. Like, what would you do? Like, if you were coaching one of these teams, how would you deal with this?
I think you just have to, and this is going to sound very easy coming from me who doesn't run a program, but I think you just, and to not sound like a homer here, I'm trying to pick my words carefully. I think teams like Ohio State football do a really good job at this. They set a absolute non-negotiable culture and outline of what the program's about, how they're going to operate, what to expect, and then they follow through with their word. So, for example, when you go to Ohio State as a freshman, you're not going to necessarily get the NIL package that you would elsewhere right off the bat. But it's established, it's proven, there's proof of concept for this. As you get through the program, and as you get older, and as you ingratiate yourself with the program, those NIL big bag opportunities come to you. There's a reason why all those guys came back this past season. There's a reason why there's guys that should probably have transferred already that aren't transferring. I just think that if you're a college coach in today's climate, you have to set a culture of that you stick to, where there's no, special treatment. There's no, out of nowhere decisions being made. When you come here, this is what to expect. This is how we operate. And honestly, the guys that are going to follow through with that are the guys that you want on the team anyway. Like, for example, I feel like Houston does a really good job of this in basketball. I feel like Auburn does a really good job of this in basketball. And it's just setting a precedent of what is expected when you sign with this program and following through with it. And if you lose a couple guys, you lose a couple guys, but at least the integrity of it and the guys that really want to go there to develop and be better at their sport will stay, and they'll still get taken care of.
Joined by Zack Gray, ZG the Grapevine on Twitter, professional sports gambler. Check out the link in his Twitter bio where he sells tools to help you make better bets. Purdue does a really good job of it as well, I think, in basketball, obviously, because their football program sucks. Do
you agree with that, though?
I do. And I was just going to say, like, when you look at Purdue, my favorite offseason story from last year is Purdue had this Keon. It's either Keon Catchings or yeah, that's it. Keon Catchings commits. He's like this big time 4-star recruit, shows up and basically is like, I'm going to leave and go get money elsewhere. And then the money wasn't there. He tries to go back to Purdue and Coach Panner was like, nah, bro, we're good. Like, we don't want you back. You go anywhere else. He goes to BYU and now he's in the portal once again. And I think the best thing that you said there was guys who don't want to like buy into those NIL rules that coaches set that are really just kind of out for themselves and the money. Like, you don't want those guys on your team anyway.
Right. And sure, you can catch lightning in a bottle and get a guy and run a program like that and be good for a year or even 2 years. But to remain consistent in this climate, you have to have some sort of baseline and understanding of how the program operates. And even if that means you lose a guy or two, that really doesn't, it really hurts to lose. Like, you just have to stick with it, because in the long run, your program is going to have a solid foundation compared to these other teams that are fly-by-night transfer type of schools. I think in the Nico situation, I think Tennessee has opened themselves up to something like that happening with the way that they've handled their NIL since it started. Throw a bag anywhere and everywhere.
Yeah. I don't know how all that works. I wonder if part of it too is just like Nico, look, there's probably a handful of quarterbacks in college football this next year that you could have like a legitimate argument for being better than Nico Iamaleava. And I'm sure part of this is just knowing that like Tennessee kind of has to pay him, because if they don't, like who's going to play, who's going to be their quarterback this next season, especially a team that I think expects to be better this year than they were last year playing, a redshirt freshman at quarterback.
But that's the thing, Jay Smith. Sure, but what kind of repercussions and unintended consequences does something like this have down the line? This is like on the field is one thing, but what kind of message does it send? What kind of internal locker room issues could this bring? Like, stuff like that can't be understated. Like, I feel like we've seen situations already where teams are really super talented, but there's not that cohesive unit feel. That they're not a team. They're a bunch of guys that are looking out for their own self-interest first, which is fine. If that's how you want to operate, that's fine, but don't expect to win at a high level.
Couldn't agree more at all. I gotta run. But I'm with you. Like, this NIL stuff, man, it's so frustrating. And I'm with you. Like, the best
fun,
thing
though.
It is, but the best thing for Tennessee long term would be to look at Nico and be like, all right, bro, that's fine. There's the door. If you don't want to take however many millions of dollars, because that's what it is, that they're giving him. That would be the best thing for their program long term. But like you said, because like you can't allow players to hold you hostage.
Right. But you like I said, you can, but you just got to understand what comes with that.
Couldn't agree more. Zach, thanks for your time as always. We're taking the Nationals tonight. minus 115, and we're taking the over on the run line. Can't wait. Let's make some money. It's going to be great.
Yes, sir.
All right, man. See ya.
See you, Jay Smith.
That is Zack Gray. You can check him out on Twitter at ZG The Grapevine. He sells tools to help you make better bets. Just click that link in his bio. Thanks for taking the time out of your day to tune in. It was a great show. Hopefully you enjoyed it. The Dan Dockett Show comes your way next here in about 4.5 minutes. I'll talk to you Monday starting at 10 a.m.